This is where today we're going to be discussing about unleashing the potential of tech for ESG innovation. So what a way for us to look into this, because ESG, with this whole movement, everything is coming up all in together, and the best way when something as huge as this is happening, we look for the money that is going to be driving it. That's why today we have MAVCAP and Artem Ventures together as part of the panel. And technology is going to play a whole big role. That's where Anand is together with us today to share what is out there to complement this whole journey. And most important part, how many startups are there in the house? Can we get a woo? Woo! Oh, that's a nice woo. That's like a good Friday evening woo that we have here. So startups, of course, that's where we have Kapitani, Nazrul together with us. So I'm just gonna dive in right straight into it with the first question. I think it's a little bit more of a warm-up. I think I would put it as that before we go into the deeper conversation. The first question, I think, is just touching straight on towards the tech side. How do you see technology driving ESG innovation and shaping the future of sustainability? Let's start it off with that. Who wants to take it? I mean, I'm just going to leave it as casual as possible, but since we mentioned about tech, maybe Anand, you want to start it first, all the way from Japan, Anand?
No, of course. No, I'm not from Japan. I'm from Jakarta, actually. Pardon me about the background. It looks like a Japan house. Anyway, so thank you for this time. So I'm excited actually to speak about sustainability or to talk about sustainability. Right? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So my name is Anand. I'm a venture capital and startup community lead for Google Cloud. So in Google, right? So we actually sustainability is part of our culture or our DNA, right? When we talk about sustainability, right, it goes back to 2 decades ago. We were the first major company to become carbon neutral in 2007, way back, right? And in 2017, we were the first major company to match our energy use with 100% renewable energy in energy. So that's been what we've been doing, right? So sustainability is very close at our heart. Even fun fact, just a little bit fun fact, right? Did you know that in our office in Mountain View, there is a grass, right? A field of grass, right? So instead of calling out a vendor to kind of using the machine to mow the lawn, to cut the lawn, right? We actually bring in sheep to eat up all that lawn there. So just a fun fact, and because at the time we were thinking about sustainability. So in short, for us in Google, sustainability has been in our culture, our DNA, and we've been doing this even more than 20 years ago. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Anand. Maybe could maybe Nazrul or Amy, would you like to take this as well?
Okay, can you hear me? Or I need to use the mic? Okay, first of all, Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon. Terima kasih Imran, thanks Imran for the introduction and Artem for the Academy for the invitation on this. My name is Nazrul from Kapitani, and people always confuse us with Kapitalis. No. Kapitani is an acronym for Capital untuk Petani. So when we first started, it's all about the ambition to become the first P2P player focusing on agriculture in Malaysia. That's how we see capital as the seeds of progress for the farmers. But throughout the engagement with the farmers on the ground, we see there are bigger role that we need to play to address that. So now what Kapitani did, we are basically helping the food security we are helping to preserve the food security ecosystem by helping the farmers aggregating their farm level data to help them making actionable insight on the ground, and also making the food affordable and safe for the end consumer on the table. So that's the visions of Kapitani today. On the questions about how technology drive the ESG, I could take in the domain of the agriculture today. We see there are two main things that driving the ESG on the ground. First, on the cloud technology, where we have that really benefited the farmers, basically the smallholder farmers, very much, because we knew like 80% of our food we consume today coming from the smallholder farmers, not from the commercial farm. So that's basically, but the really pressing issue, even though the 80% is coming from the smallholder farmers, they are also the group that having difficulties with all the poverties and everything. So this is the time that we see how to help them further with tech. And because both of our co-founders coming from the technology, telecommunication industry, this is where we see the benefit of cloud computing to the farmers on the ground. The second is, we heard a lot about the smart farming, etc. But the fundamental issue is basically, if we really want to drive ESG in the community, it started with the basics literacy about what do we mean by that. For the example of the farmers that we gather for the past 2 or 3 years engagement, we have issue or the gap in the digital, financial, even the sustainable literacy. So that's the domain that we need to address first. We need to bring that, address that with technology, and with that we could further improve the current situation. So this is what Kapitani is doing. We provide the farm level record keeping for the farmers. It's a simple platform for them to use, at least to trace what are they doing on the farm today, the record keeping and everything. Because that's the fundamental things. I love to share this story because like from our first day, because we're coming from the telco engineer on the ground, we thought everybody could afford the technology. So we asked them, they say it's quite expensive. And then we asked them, it's amazing, the chili farmers in Jempol, Negeri Sembilan. I asked them, what happened to your revenue or profit that you collected for the past few cycle or season? Basically, they don't have that record. They just pluck the figure from the sky. They say, probably 2,000 ringgit I get from the past cycles. So that's the moment that we see, probably this is where we need to help them with a digital tools and utilizing the cloud technology on how they could do that. And by doing this, basically we are helping them to improve their digital, financial, and also sustainable literacy. Yes, that's for a start. Imran.
Can you hear me? Is it loud enough? Okay. Test. I'll try to be as still as possible. All right. Okay. Sorry. That's brilliant. Such a moving story. I think like it's about spotting in terms of that opportunity. It's about moving together on how exactly would the technology and everything would be able to create in terms of the impact. And this comes into the next question. I think like this is a burning question as well, because I tend to face this a lot. And people say, ESG is a trend. So, perhaps, where is it going to be? Is it just another wave? I would love to hear it out from Amy on this. Is ESG a trend or is it here to stay?
Hi, Assalamualaikum, and a very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for having me, MAVCAP, again here. It's an honor to be in the middle with my ex-staff. He was so young then, and he still looks so young, and I'm with all my wrinkles and stuff. So he said, I remember you. You were the one who taught me Abida. That must be so boring teaching people Abida. And here is actually Nazrul. Nazrul, we used to be in the same school together, and last week he came to me and said, hi Kak Amy. I was like, oh my god, what is this? We were in the same school, boarding school back in Perlis, and I was like in my running a tire. We just like came back from running at the Sawah, Bendang. And it's an honor to be in, I really make me feel young, and I'm like, why? I'm like the only lady and the eldest here. But anyways, I've been talking about ESG like the whole week last week. This is my 9th engagement for the week. Talking about this, trying to make sure that people really understand what is this all about. But first thing first, I'm just gonna let you know this is a very interesting number. Are you talking to me about impact investment? Okay, it's actually a broad definition of impact investment. Okay, why it matters, before I actually bring you to the definition, impact investment or impact investing is actually worth USD 2.281 trillion. So is there some money there? The answer is yes. Okay, so what is impact investment? Like, do you have to change the whole structure of your investment? I mean, especially from us, investor perspective. But I'm gonna actually quote or read this simple definition of impact investment. Impact investments are investment made with the intention to generate positive, measurable social and environmental impact alongside a financial return. So this is the question, where do you find balance for investors like us? And we're going to go all the way and become philanthropists like the Massive Foundation or Yayasan Azana. No, we can't. MAVCAP is the largest fund of fund venture capital in Malaysia. We have been in industry for the past 22 years, and we have funded almost 1,000 startups. And I would like to actually share with you, we don't fund ideation up to pre-growth. We fund people who actually have a track record. I mean, if you are not in a positive position, it's okay, because we know 90% of startups will fail. I mean, globally that's the number, but don't be disheartened, because you wouldn't know that you'll be that 10%, right? And it's also our mandate to make sure that we fund, at this current point of time, Series B. So this is the issue that people keep on asking us, why do we actually lose custom, or might lose, or we lost Grab. Grab was actually, when they came to us, they were still my taxi. But we can't take them through the journey because our mandate is up to Series B. So this is again a structural issue that all of us have to fix this, especially, it has to come from the government, because the VC funding is actually 2/3 from the government. We don't have enough private players. But how much more can the government spend? So that's another question. So we stop at Series B, and we hope we'll be able to actually champion and move the policy. But if you say, is there any, why it's important, I just have to be frank to all of you. I just came back from London, and I have actually my head of director, and I actually have my director of strategy. When we came into MAVCAP like less than 7-8 months ago, our task, first thing first, is actually to set up ESG policy, because it matters. So if you ask us, what's your progress? Yes, it's progress, but do we not have a 22-year-old venture capital, the largest venture capital in Malaysia? We don't even have ESG policy, because it's still a new thing. But we call it patient. We have to be patient, because first we're going to introduce impact investment, and we are like so busy talking about care economy. This is all real data. But what do we do as the largest VC trying to help startups? I mean, here we are talking about ESG. We know it matters, but let's go back to fundamental. Even before we talk to the ESG, I understand, we are startups, we are SMEs, it's when you look at the Maslow hierarchy, it's the part of survival. We don't even want to think about ESG. We don't want to talk about it, right? I mean, we just need to survive and make sure that we have money to pay our staff the next day. So, but at the same time, if we have exit in mind for your business, you have to consider that, because if you're at ideation or early growth or growth stage, where you have yet to go out there and look for a fund or to raise fund, you're still okay. But the moment you start coming to MAVCAP or GoBee or 500, all our fund managers will start asking you that. So are you going to be prepared from the very beginning, or are you going to be struggling in the middle of your journey? Raising fund is actually not easy. So that day, I had a conversation with Saki and from Artem. If you don't go out there and meet 100 VCs, you don't come and tell us that you have tried your best. I was like, okay, I understand. But you think it's we actually talk to so many investors company. I mean, that's the journey that they have to go through. I'm sure Nazrul is going through the same painful journey as well. But I'm sure out of 100 or maybe 50 or 60, one of them will say, hey, I'll put money into your business. So don't be so sad, don't be disheartened. I know it's painful. I personally have our own family business back then. We don't know what's the differentiation to start out and SMEs. Even it took us 4 years to raise fund. To the point that itu tak payah lah, like that kind of thing. But of course, I'm a bit blessed. I actually have my parents who become our angel investor and investor forever, that kind of thing. But what if we don't have? Why are we using your parents' money when you can ask the public money? It's available, right? But it's not an easy journey. But I'm going to go back to the question: is ESG matters? It is, especially when you are ready to respond, because that's the language. At first, we actually have tabulated these slides. Actually, quite interesting. In 2006, everybody is a CSR focus. So they have social enterprises and they will use the CSR allocation, but it's not sustainable. And then that's what's next. When you talk about startups, it'll take at least 10 years. And then from 2014 and 2020, everyone is talking about ESG. So what's next? In this graph that we actually crafted from a few sources, from 2021 to 2023, the buzzword is going to be sustainability and impact focus. And I would like to encourage you, because recently I was on a panel with you and SDG report for Malaysia 2023. So have a look at the report. Go to their website. There's actually a way, I think, a public information. I mean, I'm happy to share with you on what industry that, technology industry that they are actually looking at. And it's actually aligned from our in-house research and our industry research. Sorry, Imran, I'm just going to the last slide that I think is actually important slide for startups. I mean, if you have startups, you want to make sure that maybe you have some realignment to these industries. So there's actually 6 priority sectors in investment opportunities that are really looking to impact investment, something that can relate to your business. First is technology and communications. First, so I have 6 here. Second is healthcare. This is alignment with the industry, the current existing issue that they're going to fix in Malaysia. Renewable and resources. 4, financials. 5 is actually food and beverage, Kapitani, food security. And 6, infrastructure. So go spend a bit more time and read about the Malaysia SDG Investor Map 2023. There's a lot of information. They even give, for example, the beneficiaries of the care economy. I mean, care economy, and we are actually a sandwich society. Young kids, elder parents, we are the middle society. So they are even giving the return, you're looking about more than 5% gross profit margin. So that is why ESG matters, especially when you talk about technology. Yeah.
Coming to you, Omar, but I think some major strong message over here. Here we are with a 22-year-old company and admitting the fact that they don't even have the ESG. It's not about being vulnerable, but it's about facing the reality. and the reality forward is what is needed, because like especially as a startup, what we're building today is what it is for tomorrow. So like yeah, thank you so much. Macam dulu lah. Belajar. Okay, so now going on to the other side, together with Artem, Omar, we would love to hear from you. How does Artem view transformative power of technology in driving ESG innovation, and how does it align with the firm's investment strategy? Yeah.
Thanks, Imran. That's a long one. So I think before I start to answer that question directly, I just want to create a better context, right? Maybe before that, I just want to share some figures, how public market and private markets are really intertwined in terms of ESG. First of all, I think there's a study recently that in Southeast Asia, we're going to hit a $200 billion ESG investment potentially by 2025. Number two, I think the biggest funds in the US or Europe, or especially ETF, are focusing ESG. I think the third part that we need to understand that bond market also are going up with ESG focus. So the reason why I'm saying all this is because I want to share with everyone why private market or venture capital and private equity are intertwined in this, and why we are looking in ESG. The reason why we're looking at ESG is not because the public market are already right there. We are creating the funnel to them. We are investing in solutions. We are investing in problem statements that will benefit the public market in the future. First of all, I think for us, I just want to share that Artem Ventures manage a fintech and insurtech fund. So we invest highly in S and G, social and governance. So these two are key because it benefits fintech and insurtech market. I think in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of financial companies and whatnot, but I think the issue that we still yet to prove is how do you get underserved community to be served in terms of finance and also insurance, right? In Malaysia, Temanegara mentioned that we are 90% penetration in terms of banking and whatnot, but in terms of banking services, I think it's way, way less than that. Means they just have a bank account or saving account where they don't use any other things, right? So we see that opportunity for us to invest. One of the portfolio, of course, is Kapitani. And another portfolio coming up soon, I'm not sure I can share, but they're going to focus on developing credit scoring for underserved communities, right? So this underserved community will eventually have some sort of credit using a lot of data analytics, using potentially AI to help them to create their own credit so they can move forward and get banking or financial services in the future, including financing, insurance, and whatnot, right? So these are the one thing that we look. Another one is the G part, governance. So governance includes traceability and also at the same time also transparency, right? This is very, very important, especially for Kapitani, who are looking to trace and also provide transparency in terms of where the goods and where the food goes, and who's paying for it, how much you're paying for it, and who benefits for it. I think everyone here probably agrees that it's a very fragmented industry in the ecosystem, especially in food. So I think there's two things that's really aligned to us, and I think this really aligned to Malaysia as well, that we need to create more easier path for our society and citizens to access to capital is number one, to access into information that's number two, and to be insured. I think that's the third part, is the most important part, to ensure that they manage to be insured in terms of themselves, their employees, and of course their assets, right? Hope I answer your question, that Imran. So yeah, over to you.
Thanks. Are you guys like taking notes of the numbers? No. Okay, cool. Well, later we're gonna have. I think that's also a QR over here that you could just like plug in some questions and all. We'll capture that. I think just now we've covered quite a bit in terms of the investments. Now let's go back in terms of the tech together with Anand. over here, as a tech giant, what role does Google envision in driving ESG innovation and sustainability across various sectors?
Okay, so I think I want to highlight two parts, right? The first part on the technology side, of course, right? For example, right, we have our products that actually using AI like fleet routing and fleet management, right, on runs on Google Maps that actually will help to reduce the carbon footprint, right, for drivers to deliver goods from one point to another, right. We have our Google Earth engine also where we work, where it's being integrated with our BigQuery, right, to kind of analyze the footprints of the carbon around the world. We have some partners working on that. So, of course, I've mentioned about the BigQuery, or AML technologies that actually can be used to kind of analyze or become analytic hub to build a sustainable model, for example. That's another part of the technology side. But there's another part actually in terms of startups. We have programs, for example, like we have a program called Startup for Sustainable Development, where Omar and Artem actually has just enrolled to become part of our sustainability startup development community here. So it's a big community around the world where we actually provide mentorship to startups. The mentorship came either from Googlers around the world or from our external partners, right? NGOs or VCs, incubators, etc., etc. So I think those two that I wanted to highlight in terms of how we actually contribute or to contribute to the sustainability development. Yep.
Oh, that's interesting, Omar. Are you going to share with us about that?
So I don't think there's this appropriate platform to share, but I think I just want to share that the plans that we want to do. I think that partnership with Google is key for us, and also helping Google to talk more about accessibility and also ESG. I think that's the first part. The first part is not just for us, I think for the country as well. I mean, Amy's been talking about it almost 9 times this week. Awareness is key, and getting people to understand the impact and the problem is key as well. So that's our role in this, in the partnership with Google, to create awareness among startups, among our stakeholders, to ensure that we are very aligned and inviting them to be part of our journey. Further plans, I cannot disclose yet, but we'll share in due time what we're going to do and how we're going to work very closely with Google on helping you guys to be more sustainable in a way. But yeah, I'll leave that for the later time. Thanks, Imran.
Just one thing, I think I want to invite Kapitani also to enroll to apply to the program.
Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe MAVCAP as well?
Okay, MAVCAP as well. I will send out more details about that later on. If you give me the
You can have it. You can have it. Everyone knows. I think, yeah, that's really brilliant. I mean, these are the kind of supports that we need, essentially, when it comes into, you know, venturing into this whole, well, green field. That's a good one. Come on, guys. So, yeah, something interesting, because like now we touched about on the investment side, on the technological side. For us, like on the startup side, you know, at the end of the day, it's about the bottom line, right? So like now, since we have somebody of the startup around here, and who's been driving his startup from since day one, I think, like, you know, almost with that purpose in mind. You know, what was the consideration in incorporating ESG in your startup?
Thanks, Imran, for the questions. I think for Kapitani, it happened that we are in the food safety domain. The vertical is like, it's already there by design or by right. The ESG is the key things that we are started from our day one, already talking about that. That's what I shared earlier about how we try to bring that community, because we know, like what Omar said, the undeserved, the unbankable. Farmers has all that persona, the criteria is there. So what Kapitani did for a start is basically we are building, like what we said earlier, digital, financial, and we also touch about the sustainable literacy. We try to empower them with that knowledge and the skills so that they could be more aware of how their plans or how their action at the farm will impact the community as a whole. I think for the record, if we look around for the report, in the area of gas emissions like carbon, 70% is contributed by the agriculture sector alone. But the fundamental issue, as what I shared earlier, there's no clear data or farm level data that we could access to really understand that. So that's the key domain. And this is a challenge that Kapitani first touched during our initial stage. Because as we started, we thought the data is available. We go and met someone at Kementerian. We asked at the fundamental level how many farmers in Malaysia, what kind of pesticide they use, what kind of fertilizer, and because these are the parameters that we need to understand of the current situation of the farmers on the ground, our subject. But that's not available. So that's the issue that we had on the ground. I think it's almost identical to all vertical also. The absence of this critical data really hinder us to push forward the ESG narrative. But for Kapitani, as it happened, we are in the food safety domain, we need to go forward with that. So that's why our first pivot is basically to provide the Release 1.0 is a simple bookkeeping apps to the farmers. It's very tough, but then that's what we need to do. But throughout the journey, this is where we are engaged with some of the key stakeholders. They introduce what they call it as a good agriculture practice on the ground. So this is the things that basically the framework and standard is already there. For the record, the good agriculture practice is already being introduced by the ministry since 2006. And it has all the tick box of the ESG. Because we understood like they will record everything, the fertilizer that they use, who are utilizing that, and everything. But nobody really cares during that time. And worse is, the record sitting idle, like I think the buku merah of ibu mengandung, and I think in Malaysia we have that, the red books, the buku merah for ibu mengandung, and it's sitting idle there. The red book for the pregnant woman, the mother to be, you need to do all the record there, right? When you go to the klinik kesihatan, the KK. It's sitting same with the good agriculture record. It's sitting idle in the Kementerian for the past 10 years, and nobody really do like some sort of analysis about that. So that's why when we came on board, we see the potential for us to utilize that as actionable insight that we could further analyze and helping the farmers on how to do to manage their bottom line at the farm and everything. And for Kapitani, again, the main challenges I think is always about the key stakeholder for the farmers or the farmers themselves, as I said. And secondly, on the ecosystem readiness, basically, because this is what we experience. And for the past few years, I think I want to echo what MAVCAP, shared earlier about the fund and everything. It's quite depressing sometimes because you know that we have the ups and downs of the startup founders, and we've been rejected multiple times. Sometimes we are good, sometimes like we think, oh, that's it, I don't want to continue anymore doing these things. But that's the moment that we try to push forward. Because for Kapitani, the things that matters is how we could help the whole ecosystem getting the safe food, at the same time try to have the smallholder farmers getting access to much more affordable pricing for their crops. I think that's the key things that driving. So the ESG, in short, for Kapitani, ESG has been there since day one because the subject that we are dealing with are very critical for us, especially in addressing the social impact of our initiative.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I know. It's just hearing it out. I mean, in terms of process, we know that it's not going to be easy. It is going to be a journey, definitely. That I think all of us might have our own story to tell sometime in the future. I'm sorry, just the politics plus camera. Sorry, because I'm just going to pick up a couple of questions from the audience actually. Really interesting stuff. Okay, so this one comes for MAVCAP and Artem. How does MAVCAP and Artem incorporate ESG into your investment process while balancing with commercial returns? They're trying to read your brains.
Did I tell you that we just started? So yeah. I don't know how to avoid that question. It's not easy. First thing first, why do we actually have MAVCAP? So it's actually to help the development of VC industry for the country. So we are actually in between commercial strategy as well as development strategy. So when we first came in and we are still working on it, we are actually starting everything from scratch and on ground. But we try to look at it from different perspectives as well while working to develop our ESG. So for example, if you have a business, first thing first, my tips will be, like, remember, it has to start from intention. Same goes to what Kapitani is doing. There's 17 pillars of SDG. So rest assured, your business will have 1, 2, or at least 3 alignments to the SDG. So this is a quick win strategy. We don't have a tool, you don't need the tools and whatsoever. Just said because we are startups, we are not ready to raise funds, but we also want to make sure that our intention of the business that we are creating is aligned with our vision, our mission, and you want to have that particular pillars be ingrained in your business. So that will be my personal advice to you. That what I did for my own business as well. What is the most important elements of the 17 pillars that you align to your business? So from there, you will start building it, because it's actually a mental thing in your mind that you will stand guided by that, because that's actually zero cost, right? For businesses, we have so many issues that we have to address. That's the last thing, but you want also to be aligned that you're ready. So how us investors look at it, because we don't do direct investment, we do fund on fund. So we have to make sure that people like Gobi, 500, we have 8 fund managers. So this is where you go and ask them for fund. If you've come to us, you can only help because all the money is deployed to all our fund managers for one reason. Let's say if we have RM1 and I actually put with 500, RM1, I'll give them RM1. But what they will do to help us to expand the fund, they will risk minimum 3 times. So if it's RM3, 30% the mandate will be given back to Malaysia. So we have a bigger pool of funds. So remember, I mentioned to you earlier, 2/3 of funds from VC comes from the government. And we need bigger pool of funds to support businesses in Malaysia. And it's actually quite, and we also have to balance between development and commercial. So tell me. So yeah, so that will be our first check in for ESG is actually to make sure our all fund managers tick some boxes of for now that 17 pillars in any particular ways. I mean, we don't have the ESG policy. I'm not going to say and be proud and talk about it that no, we don't have. We are actually working on it. So you have to look at her. He came back for Jakarta for us. to make sure that we have a proper VC fund of fund ESG strategy. So there's a lot of groundwork that we are working on, but my tips will be that 17 billion first, because it will set the direction of your business.
Sorry, can you recap the question? Sorry.
Ada soalan bocor tak? Sorry. How does MAVCAP and Artem incorporate ESG into investment process while balancing with commercial returns? So ESG and returns.
So just to recap that we invest in the early stage mostly, seed stage, which is quite the most vulnerable stage of all. The stage of the company, the risk, So how do we do that without really pressing so much to the companies, right? It's really boiled down into how we communicate this to our investors. So although we are investors, we have our own investors as well. So how do we do that? So every time we see a company, we will ask them about questions. And they will revert back to us with information about them, whatnot, especially on S and G. And we will use that to propose to our investment community, right? So basically, all this question is really, really hard for us, trying to understand how they're going to impact socially, how they're going to impact governance, or environment in certain case, like Kapitani, but mostly S and G. So it's really part and parcel of our DNA, so we look into it deeply, right? To be honest, I don't think there is a hindrance towards commercial returns. I don't think it's a binary situation, either this or that. I think both of them complement each other real well. The first thing that I mentioned about how the public market is reacting to ESG, it's a testament, there is a lot of investors in the future looking at this, right? So I'm not so concerned in terms of the commercial returns, commercial offtake or exits or a partner looking at this, right? So that's one. I think the second one, how we do this is, of course, we just started investing probably December last year. And hopefully by July, we probably have around 13 companies, portfolio companies by end of July. So how do we get our portfolio to be part of our ESG journey? Of course, our partnership with Full Academy. We hope, with their classes and workshops, we can share more about ESG. That's number one. Number two, I think in the future, we probably going to have a sustainability report talking about our companies, our portfolios. And like Amy mentioned, right, actually a lot of startups are not aware, but they are part of SDGs, right? It's default, it's just that you don't know. I think the awareness level, it's quite shocking actually. The awareness level about this is quite low for us. So a lot of people don't know. And the reason why I say that, every time we see a pitch deck, we don't see this type of labeling into the deck. Nobody, literally nobody, right? Number one, either they don't know. Number two, they don't see value in it. But for us, it's really, really valuable because it gives us some guidance on how to evaluate you. Because you say you're impacting this, impacting that. So it gives us some guidance, and this is a story we want to tell our stakeholders or investors as well. So yeah, I hope I answered your question, Imran.
Just one follow, maybe just gula-gula scale. Is there some sort of a ratio, between returns and impact?
Well, to be honest, I think we're one of the lucky ones. I think post-pandemic, right? I'll give you a bit of context. A lot of people, previous investors like VCs who started investing probably before 2020 or 2020 itself, having a lot of issues right now because they have a lot of legacy startups who require, a white knight, a lot of money, or not. You can see a lot of retrenchment and whatnot. So for us, actually, it's timely because we literally start investing during the endemic stage or post-pandemic, right? So for us, and a lot of people say that, we are the one who will make the market maker in a way because we're investing in early stage company that are probably going to be big in the future, right? So to be honest, I don't see an issue at all for us to have potentially commercial returns and all these things. But I think a lot of investors right now are looking into it. I'll give you a good example. I think Amy can testament to this. Dana Impact allocation 6 billion ringgit into impact investments. 6 billion ringgit now. that's a lot of money. So we always wonder where they're going to disperse this money, right? So I think in a way that they do have the money, yes. But I think in a way that there is another, that's a great indicator for us because we have more partners in the ecosystem co-investing with us. I think if you heard the managing director of Khazanah spoke today and Awani, he mentioned so the journalist asked, what's your recommendation for investors investing in ESG? He said, working together, investing together. So co-investment is a fundamental to the success of ESG, right? This is why, we are investing, potentially Gobi Investment, who are partnering with Khazanah and whatnot. So, yeah, so I think if everyone moves together, I think we can make this a success, hopefully with MAVCAP as well.
I'm just gonna bring you back.
Again to Malaysia SDG investor map. So I'm gonna bring you to this particular slide actually in front of me. I'm just gonna tell you about because I talked about care economy yesterday. So if ever your business, what is like for example Kido Care. I'm sure some of you have heard about it. So it's very simple. What are the key pillars of SDG that actually relate to the business? There's 3. One is good health and well-being. Second is gender equality, SDG 5 out of 17, and industry innovation and infrastructure. So this is the question that I'm not going to repeat, but this is the quick wins that you actually can do. Look back at the business, study a little bit about the 17 pillars. You can quickly get it because you are in the business, you are interested, you are passionate about it. You'll be able to pick up out of the 17 what's aligned to your business. And then just now you asked me, is there money in all these things? Yes. That report, for example, give you the indicative return. They give you the market size, and they give you the ticket size, and they even give you a target location. So for care economy, it's actually safe countrywide, so all over Malaysia. So there's potential. I just read the report, and I've been reading it since the day that they launched. And I think it's actually a very good indicative report for businesses like this. But first thing first, let's go back to basic. How is your business aligned with the SDG, the 70 pillars? Do that first. Then you'll be able to see what's the next steps and what are you aligned. So that would be my tips for you. Take away homework on Friday night. It was, why are we here? You're supposed to be somewhere, like Noraisami. I don't know there's a new word for Noraisami. What do you call that? Like Noraisami, the one at Sheraton Road, there's all this. They don't call the Noraisami anymore. Yeah, heritage show, sorry, no more Noraisami. Yeah, that's how old I am, okay, thank you.
That's ours. That's ours. No? Okay, that's really amazing. I think we're moving towards the end of the time, but I would really love to hear it out from each and every one of you guys, you panelists. Maybe we could have a round together with Anand. Maybe if you could, any takeaways for the participants, and also, of course, if there's any initiative that the people around here would be able to, follow or anything like that in terms of the supports that they could get or grow together with Google.
Yeah, so thanks, Imran. So basically, I think I would like to reiterate Google's programs, right, for startups. So we have a Google for Startup program where we actually help startups to start, build, and grow, right? We have our financial support through Cloud Credit Program, $2,000 for non-funded startup, $100,000 for the funded startup by VCs, right, who receive VC funding, right? So that's number one, right? We do have other programs, but I think basically that's the bigger picture of our programs that helps startups financially, right? The number two is the program that's specifically for sustainability startup for development, right? So that's another program that we encourage startups to apply, where you can actually once you apply, and then we kind of created you monthly. We do onboarding, right? So when you register, we evaluate monthly and onboard it for 1 year. And once you are there, you actually can talk with all the mentors, right? From Googlers, from the VCs, etc. We have a platform for that, and we from time to time we actually do like a kind of speed dating, right, or demo day online, right, across the world, right. So that's also a good opportunity to highlight yourself, your startups in front of the investors. So I think I wanted to highlight those two programs in one for the audience, the startup audience in the room. Yeah.
Thank you. Did you guys manage to get that? They're nodding, Anand, so it's a good sign.
Thank you.
Okay, Omar or Amy? Oh, you got a microphone.
I know you go ahead.
Okay.
First thing first, you have homework this weekend. Yeah, 17 pillars, that's first. Okay, and secondly, we need this conversation to happen. Please, it's also my KPI. I'm forcing you pick up your phone and follow official MAVCAP on Instagram. For one reason. Apart from my KPI lah. Okay, we do have a lot of free training. We have started first with Social Value International. It's a free training. Okay, remember we are government, so we have to help the rakyat. Okay, so we are doing it. Okay, so that's one free training. Follow us. We will actually update at all time in our social media. You can click the link. It's going to be online, or even it's going to be offline. We also offer or we open our space. I mean, as even maybe more beautiful than Google. Excuse me. Yeah. So we are located at Menara Ilham, KLCC, the nearest MRT or LRT, Jamal, and you come in. You can come to our office. We actually have monthly engagement, what we call Ilham MAVCAP ideas. So you'll be able to speak to all these interesting speakers. Either it's leadership, or is it like the pain of growing business? How do you raise funds? Just follow us on social media. Food provided, nasi lemak, teh tarik, no problem. Okay, and this is actually very interesting. We need this conversation. We need all of you to speak about anything that you want to speak, because if you are not in the community, you might not know what you do not know. So we open our office every Friday from 9 to 6. Just go to our website, or no, not website, go to our social media and register. We even provide free legal service. You can actually ask the legal firm anything that you need to know about the business, because we understand the painful being a startup or SME or bootstrap all the time, okay? So we are here to help. You can actually have a meeting there. You can actually have your events, even your events, anything that you want to do. The space is open and you guys are invited. Jemput datang. Yeah.
Okay, I think there's nothing much left, I think, for me to say. Okay, I think just to share some of the feedback, because for the record, Kapitani is my second attempt to do startup. The first one is 10 years back. The community ecosystem is not like what we have today, and what MAVCAP have Artem, the community of VCs in Kuala Lumpur today is much more better compared to the 10 years back. And it really helped the founders with the ecosystem to understand on the method, approach, or whatever things that we being, most of the time, we are biased towards our goal or intentions. So that's the things that I see when we first started with the Kapitani. The ecosystem is there and they are really helpful. Second is on the ESG part. Basically ESG creating some sort of the framework or standard that really help the founders find their path to what they call it as a PMF, product market fit, or problem solution fit. The product market fit and the PSF is the things that we're always looking at, right, for the founders. With the SDG and ESG things, is basically helping us further to really refine the approach or channel or whatever validation that we need to do on the ground. For the say that for Kapitani, we always go with the responsible production and consumptions if I'm mistaken, SG number 12. So that's provide clear path that these are the things that we need to do and validate on the ground, so that we could reach that before we go for our next fundraising. So that the key things that we have on the ground. And I think with this ecosystem and the conversation that we started today, it will be a very good starting point in the community. And I look forward for all startup to be in the same boat with Kapitani, inshallah.
Thanks, thank you. I think for me, I just want to express, I don't want to say much since we're the host for that. So first of all, I think I'd like to say thank you for everyone for being here today, spending your Friday afternoon time. I hope it's been very insightful and whatnot. And I think number two, I just want to share that, you know, I know this is probably, there's a lot of noise in the market or in the ecosystem about ESG, about who you should talk to, what type of framework you should adopt. But I think the best person that you need to ask that, or the best people you need to ask that, is people around you today, who could be well aligned with you, because there's so many noise out there. Because another thing, the government have yet to have a proper direction in terms of the type of framework that we want to adopt, right? I think the third part is, of course, is for startups, founders. I mean, a lot of people say that you need to be verified, and you need to be verified by a consultant or something along that line to be ESG compliant or SDG compliant in a way, which is not. So do a bit of research, like Amy said, and please, hopefully you can find ways to include this into your in your collaterals, into your bio, in your pitch deck or whatnot. So I expect in the future, my wish list is to see more startups. When they submit a pitch deck to us, there's more element of SDG, ESG in the content. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to all the panelists. I think just to sort of like to have a one round up. Number one, opportunities are definitely out there. The knowledge, the money, the community. Don't forget to follow MAVCAP, Kapitani, Artem, and of course, like you know, the things that's available out there with Google. And I think one thing to really take back. I know we as startups always have to be out there, standing strong, and be super confident. But when it comes into something that we don't know, don't be shy to be vulnerable about it and ask the people next to you. And most likely, surprisingly, from the experience that we have spoken to, be it from the corporates or even SMEs and even startups as well, you know, you have to start somewhere, and chances are you have already started your ESG journey. So have a great one, everybody. You guys are amazing.